Hi, I'm David Berson. I'm the Chief U.S. Economist at Cumberland Advisors. Jim, tell everybody who you are and who you work for.
So I'm Jim Slutz. I am with the National Petroleum Council, a federal advisory committee that provides us advice to the Secretary of Energy.
So we're going to talk a bit about energy today, obviously with Jim's background and what he does now. Let's start with natural gas. What's happening with natural gas?
So the United States is the largest natural gas producer in the world. We're also the largest natural gas exporter with liquefied natural gas. And that's been an incredible story that's changed just over the last few years.
Well, why are energy prices not lower if we have so much natural gas?
Well, we actually do have historically low natural gas prices.
No, that's true, but why are energy prices overall? Why haven't we substituted other forms of energy for natural gas?
Well, natural gas plays a very critical and important role in the energy system, both in the United States and globally. It's a key fuel for generating electric power and generating power 24/7, 365 days a year. So it's base load power.
So unlike wind or solar, which, when the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine.
That's correct. And there's an important role for those energies, but you need to have a system that can run all the time.
So the big advantages of solar and wind is no CO2 emissions. Are there CO2 emissions and emission problems with natural gas and other energies?
Natural gas that's one of the challenges of natural gas. You have both methane emissions and CO2 emissions.
And methane is even worse than CO2, right?
Short term, from a near term standpoint, it is worse. So it's important but the good thing about methane is if we can capture it, it's a valuable product.
Okay.
So companies have a vested interest to avoid inadvertent methane emissions. And recently, the National Petroleum Council came out with a new study titled Charting the Course. And it really looks at how can we both reduce methane emissions and reduce CO2 emissions in the natural gas supply chain.
So what are the ways in which you can recapture methane with natural gas?
So a big part of it is re-engineering some of the systems in the natural gas supply chain, which were created historically and engineering wise for good reasons. But they as part of the process, you lost methane. So now we're looking at new technology, some of which uses solar to create energy to actuate valves, so you don't have to use the energy from the methane. But what this report shows that by 2050 we can reduce methane emissions. We can reduce it by 70% based on today.
So the interesting thing with natural gas is distribution. There are two ways to distribute: pipelines. Obviously, we have pipelines domestically, and then liquefy it and send it abroad. What are the problems with distribution, particularly, let's start domestically with pipelines?
Well, with pipelines, the system has changed over time. And the challenge is, we all know about the challenge of permitting new pipelines. And the system needs to be able to adapt and change. So we really do need to permit new pipelines. Let me add one other thing and why it's important that we allow the market to work and reduce those pipelines. Switching to natural gas from other higher emitting sources has been a key reason why the United States has reduced our greenhouse gas emissions profile over the last 15 years.
Well, let's talk about distribution with liquefied natural gas and perhaps a way to reduce emissions if it's substituting for other forms of energy abroad.
Well, part of that, and it gets very complicated, of how do you know? That's usually the criticism. How do you know you're actually reducing the methane emissions? And one of the things in this, the way you do that is by very complicated life cycle analysis. And a traditional life cycle analysis has 150 to 200 variables. Very complex model that takes months or years to develop. Part of our study, we did the analytic work to show that there's somewhere 22 to 24 variables that are the really important variables. And we created a simplified life cycle assessment model. So, and it's publicly available through the report website. So, and very transparent. So you can not only, you can download it, but it's also designed so you can put your own measured data in. So you're not just dealing with averages. And you can make, then that's the kind of work we need to do to really understand, can we reduce emissions by, and we think we can, but can we do that? And if we can, we need to be able to demonstrate that.
Anything else that our audience ought to know about natural gas?
So now all outlooks of natural gas show that we will continue to use natural gas, and in many cases increase natural gas in all energy future scenarios.
Okay.
And I think that's important. So we have to deal with the emission side because we need the natural gas. We need it as part of our mix.
Jim, thank you very much. And thank you all for watching from Camp Kotok here in Maine.